The internet connected quickly today. That's good. Let's see. Do 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 do. This is the part of the show that I always say that I'm gonna cut out, but I always forget to. But it's a nice Monday, and we're kind of changing this up from Tuesday because scheduling. Both Sean and I are having a lot of schedule changes recently, and that's why it's kind of uneven. But today we're going to be talking about Toy Story 3, which will be fun. Just waiting for that connection to come in. Do 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 do. How's everyone doing today? Feel free to submit a question, comment while we're waiting for things to get started. Do 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 do. Long quiet moment here. I'm out of practice. Let's see. We got. I guess we're having another connection issue. It's been kind of fun. So hold on. Let's see. Yes. Hi.
There
Hello.
it is. Hello.
Oh, we're live today. Hi everyone.
How's
How you
it
doing
going,
today,
Michael?
John? Good. Just
Great to hear.
get a little May gray, kind of checking my
May
lighting.
Gray. Yeah. I'm just getting back from Sequoia National Park.
Nice. How was it out there?
Beautiful. It's not, well, I'm sure it was gray when I was leaving, but it was sunny and blue the whole time I was out there. Real hot.
Nice.
Just nice.
Nice.
But yeah.
Good stuff.
So, dude, how you been? How's this week gone for you?
Good. It's been incredibly busy. I will follow up with you after the broadcast about that. But for now, we were talking about how our schedules are going to be a little interesting. And for those of you that are tuning in, we're going to figure this out. I think with our let me check something really. I was like looking into something.
Yeah, man, the way I look at it, basically, if you're listening, we're not going to be able to have the live shows on nearly as consistent of a basis in the sense that we won't be able to schedule them out as consistently on Tuesday mornings or on Monday mornings like we're doing right now for the foreseeable future. Marco started a new job. I got a new job. As this has not became our new main source of income yet, so because of that, we have to schedule around our actual incomes. That said, I would imagine we'll probably figure something out so we can hammer in an upload date so that Spotify's and Apple Music and all that stuff still stays consistent for you. But the live show will continue to be on a case-by-case basis.
I was looking at the Pixar's filmography, and we're actually like with Toy Story 3, we're almost at the halfway point. We're movie number 11 of 23 that have been released.
Okay.
So I'm like, this could be like a mid-season break.
I mean, no, next one's gonna be the halfway point because I mean, by the time we finish these, Luca will be right up there. We'll be ready for that one.
So shall we get into it, or do you want to talk about the short?
We can start with the short. I just watched it day and night.
A little fun little short that really combined some interesting visuals because the day and night characters were hand drawn. Traditionally animated, and then the scenes inside of them
are all
were
CG. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because the depth inside of them is very interesting to watch while it's all happening.
I remember seeing it on the big screen, and it was just like a real neat, like it, and it was in 3D at the time. So, but yeah, that was a good one. I liked it. In its simplicity, it's really neat. It's just like, let's see, I was directed by Teddy Newton, who does the voice of the little
I like the beginning of it the mostly just like all the little the quick gags they do of just waking up, stands by the waterfall, takes a deep breath with the wind, like all those little gags really hit well for me. I don't really understand the message too much besides the fact that they're like, is when you don't understand something, it doesn't mean that you have to not like it, I guess.
Yeah, I think
which is a great message. It's a great message.
Yeah. I think too, it's kind of like you can't have one without the other. You have to have one to appreciate the other. So, and it can also just be interpreted in different ways. So, we're all right.
artistically, it's very visually appealing. So I
Mhm.
enjoy it. Not my favorite of the shorts, but for sure, but definitely a good one.
Gotcha.
Not a bad one at all. I just
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
emotionally it doesn't do very much. It's just kind of like they I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like there was too much emotions
It's
going
kind of
into
a
it.
fun like experiment, but yeah, message wise, yeah,
Exactly. A
I
good
can see what
marriage
you're
between
saying.
yesterday. It's I feel like that's exactly it's a fun experiment. A marriage between yesterday and today. I
Hmm,
like
hmm.
that portion of it a lot.
Yeah,
But all right, let's get to it, man. Toy Story 3, dude. This thing is a
2010.
freaking banger, dude. Off the
Yeah,
top. How does Toy Story 1 start, Marco?
Toy Story 1 starts with a bank heist by Black Bart Potato
How does
Head.
Toy Story 3 start?
It starts with a train robbery with
Uh-huh.
Black Bart Potato Head and
Dude.
Mrs. Potato Head.
And One-Eyed Betty, baby.
Yeah, just that
Dude,
whole sequence, that whole I got it must have been a blast
this is me
to
flexing for Toy Story 3 real quick. 'Cause that was crazy, man. Exactly. Dude, so like the way that they're able to take, I don't know how to put this. That whole opening scene is the coolest thing that I've seen to that point in the 3D world. I remember when I
Mhm,
watched this in theaters. Like I was literally going, "Whoa!"
mhm,
Because before that, we had like with the Toy Story 2 starts with a similar thing. They
mhm.
married the two of them. So how does Toy Story 2 start? Remember?
Toy Story 2 starts with Buzz Lightyear flying. It's that fantasy sequence of like when you're playing a game, it's not just pixels. It's this whole like yeah, and it's that there's so many callbacks every or call that whole opening is callbacks and one-liners, and that's it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like pew, 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 it's just going. It's just like
I
just
love that it just goes from like, because like it does that crazy scene. We see this big, gaudy, evil Dr. Porkchop ship. You know what I mean? We're like,
hmm
whoa! And like, I just remember being on the edge of my seat, going like, I wonder what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And
yeah. It's just a
Andy's
cardboard
room.
box. Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. I loved
hmm
every second. I love that it flashes from that to VHS tape after that, because
hmm
like, so a lot of people know this, but people like who don't, maybe not. We when Marco and I and the rest of the Pizza Planet Truck crew got together, we found a direct correlation between ourselves and Andy. And I don't know if had this come out yet. This hadn't come out yet, right? It was just in the drawing board phase. We just knew about it.
This was it's kind of weird because like if like putting a pinpoint down, but like 2010, like I think it was like the couple months before this came out,
Hmm.
we were kind of like, okay, like should we do this? Like let's see, let's think about this. And I think this was what put the pin in it where it was like, yeah, we have to do
Yeah,
this.
once you saw that scene and you see like how Andy is his imagination is so powerful. Because
Mhm.
like when you're a kid, like look, I don't work for Pixar. I'm not a CG animator. I'm not somebody who's very artistically gifted when it comes to pencils, paint, or computers. And but when I was a kid and I'd play with my stuff, it looked just as cool as that in my mind.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would make just as cool a visualization of all of that Dr. Pork Chops thing out of Legos and Connects and all kinds of stuff. And it's all just as real. The spaceships are so real in my
Mhm.
head. And it's so cool to see how much time they spent just to make that look like when Buzz saves that train, I
Yeah,
I
it's so
felt that
good.
feeling they made me feel. I felt that in my bedroom by
Mhm.
myself with a bunch of toys. That was it. It's me and my and it's gosh, it was so cool. So
Mhm.
cool.
It's just like there's all these just fun things where it's like it's the kind of stuff that we're like, yeah, he would be able to carry a train because he's Buzz Lightyear. There's no question about it. You're just like, yeah. I just remember like I like one memory I have of like
Yodelay-hoo.
there's like a there's like a shockwave from the
It's
yodel.
so
It's
cool.
like just like a spirit bombs.
Yeah, it was so tight. God.
I think what's so fun is like with that sequence is there's like real dynamic camera angles, and I remember when I was like 5 or 6, and I remember this is one of those weird memories where I remember where I realized that if I was walking through the hallway of my house and I had my Micro Machine X-Wing really close to a wall, and instead of like going like this with it, I actually went like this behind it and just walked with my head like this. It looked like it was going so much faster, and it's just this thing where, like,
Those little
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. You see a Texas moving by it, going all quick and whatnot.
Hmm.
He was
And
thinking,
it's just making the little laser noises with your,
uh-huh.
with your, pew 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 pew. So goes into the VHS, and it's a very potent, I would say, very potent sequence of time passing. I think they did a really good job with that, where you're just like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, he's getting taller. Okay, this is what happened in that space. And it seems to be like, with kids, it's a relatively short space that feels like it's so much longer. I think that, like, I still haven't found the, I call it the holiday paradox. I don't think that's the official name, where it's like when you're younger, a year of your life is a larger fraction of your life. So as you
Mm.
get older, a year is a smaller and smaller fraction of your life, which is why time, in effect, feels like it's going faster. And I'm just like, there's this whole thing where, like, because you have like,
Science behind it.
yeah, and you have this whole, like, because you remember, like, I don't know, like every summer for years you'd be like, oh, this is what I did this summer, this is what I did this summer. And I'm like, I don't remember what I did 2 summers ago. Oh, and you look at
Yeah.
your photos, you're like, yeah, that's what I did.
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, the feeling of passing time was captured really well in this.
I think one thing they did to really make that whole thing genuine was they got that same voice actor that played Andy in the first film
Hmm.
to play
Yeah.
him as an 18 or a 17-year-old kid. And
Hmm.
it I think that really just reads so genuine that it takes that whole montage and everything.
Hmm.
And Pixar again, dude, just investment. It's full circles with them. You know what I mean? I started
Yeah.
talking about circles with the Bug's Life, and like
Hmm.
this is a movie where it's just like you see it over and over again, where they're just tying up the circle again, over and over. You get the original actor right there, all those callbacks in the opening sequence. You know, like even though Rex is like this crazy Jurassic Park creature, whatever, you still
Yeah.
hear him go ah like 6 times
Yeah.
in the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just they do such a good job with continuity and man, it was the first 5 minutes of this movie. I'm blown away
Yeah.
immediately, and
It.
I'm in my heart too. So I think it's the coolest thing. And then immediately I'm right in my heart because what's happening? We cut to Andy as a 17-year-old kid and he's going to college. And do college
Mhm.
kids play with their toys?
Not so
And
much.
in that, what'd you think about
Yeah.
that opening? They're opening like when they're using the
Their little
getting the cell
scheme.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. I like that Andy has like one of the bulletproof flip phones of the aughts. Um, because I still have my old like Samsung Gleam.
Mm.
It's the silliest memento. Like, this is the phone I had in high school and college. I'm keeping this thing. It doesn't work anymore. And like, you look it up and it's like this incredibly impractical practical thing. It has like mirrored finish on its on the keypad, and it was always like, gotta clean it, gotta make sure it looks. But it was like the thinnest. It was like the perfect form factor for it. I miss flip phones. I do. It's just there's.
They have a new one out now. It's the new Razor.
Mhm.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. I was never a Razer fan per se. I think they were too wide. I like the good little, like a Motorola. I know Razer's a Motorola, but I feel like the
I know what
I
you're
can't
saying.
put it into words, but
I know what you're saying.
like, I'm glad that they're bringing that form factor back. Or even like, what was it? They remade the Nokia, the bulletproof Nokia,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I kind of want one of those. Like, even if it was just like a business phone where it's like only people who know me have
My dad
one.
had his for like 6 years, bro. Like it just fine. It was totally okay. It was cool. I liked it. And you could play Snake on it for
Yeah,
hours.
I had I had a Motorola, and I don't remember what it was, but I do remember I had this distinct memory where I had a belt clip for it because I was a cool sixth grader. And I remember one time I was like running with it, and it just came off, and then the phone just went skidding across the asphalt. And I picked it up, and I'm like, just put it back in my pocket. And it was fine. It was fine.
I
That
remember
phone,
getting phone cases and stuff like that for your belt buckles,
yeah.
leather ones and things, thinking you
In the
were cool.
holster, they'd have
God,
like the
so
phone
funny.
holster. There's something that I'm like kind of okay, kind of went away. Like, I mean,
Go.
yeah, I always liked the, yeah, that's exactly in Hook. I always thought that was great. Like, um,
um, okay, so now mom's telling him to give up his toys. Oh no, we had the scheme. What the scheme?
yeah.
That scheme was
So
desperate, man.
yeah, it was, and it shows just how, like, even they like they're they're grasping at straws. They're hoping for kernels. They're hoping for any scraps to fall from the table. They're just like, oh, he held me. It's like he picked you up and
He
moved
held
you.
me. He held me. Well, and
And
then you see the way Woody's holding the phone just
oh
to
yeah,
hear Andy's voice?
yeah. It's you
He's
really
just as desperate as Rex.
mhm. You really feel for him in that part, and it's just I. Speaking of eyes, um, I'm gonna take a tangent with it. With Mrs. Potato Head's missing eye, I think we have, oddly enough, with this movie, we have potentially two contenders to add to our list, and I'll get into that later. But
Oh, snap. You're going to Powerful Pixar already?
yeah, we're going, yeah. But
So
we'll
you
get farther
think,
in.
so we're adding the potato heads into the mix? You want to do this?
We can. I don't think they're gonna break top five, but I think they're gonna break like top 10, top 15 in
But if we're
that
putting together our Avengers team, you're saying they got to be in on the
they
squad.
got to be in there somewhere because being able to take control of, yeah, to be able to throw your body parts. And what I thought was really a weird detail is that it seems that when the arms and the eyes are not connected, they are separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to like gesture to each other and communicate and stuff like that. So like being able to take over or being able to take yourself apart and throw yourself to the wind and being able to be connected to the body part miles away as a toy, I think makes you decently powerful. Maybe not strong, but
Maybe not
definitely.
overpowered, but you definitely got some power.
Hmm.
All right. So we got Woodcarver, Mater, Mr. Incredible. No, Jack
Jack.
Incredible.
Hmm.
Uh,
Wally being like, well, like we were saying, like
and I
Wally and
put
yeah,
Wally
Wally's in there
Incredible.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
I put Wally after Incredible, I'd say.
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking, I know the Cockroach has got to be top 10, I feel like, just because of what he
Hmm.
can endure. Eva's
Yeah,
got to be top 10. She's got that cannon, dude.
yeah, yeah. And then did we have anything from? Did we put Carl up in there somewhere in like the top 10 because he's just the world's strongest old man? Or is it just
Wait, who?
Carl from
Oh,
Up?
yeah. Oh, my gosh. No, I don't think we did. I mean, he could, like, Carl's got some, his resume is looking good right now.
Hmm.
He can literally lift a house. We saw
Hmm.
it. He's
Just
got
like,
he's got helium powers. His powers over balloons for sure.
hmm.
He's got super old man strength.
He's like the whole package. He's got like the tech behind him. He's like, well, how do I lift this house? Balloons. How do I solve this
He's the
problem?
Iron. Is he the Iron Man? Is it Tony Stark of this unit of our Avengers team? Is that who he
I
is?
think so. I think his obsessions led to growth, but also some minor step backs. But
And that
eventually,
was you. Oh my gosh, it is because that was the Iron Man Mach 1 was his house.
yeah.
That was
And
the
then,
Mach 1.
and
Now he's got the dirigible.
so imagine what he's gonna do when he gets to hopefully Mark 42.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna probably make some like new Pixar theory lore where it's like
I hope
Carl
we
was the
do,
one that
man.
created Wally's or something.
Stop it, Marco.
There it
You're
is.
making too much sense, dude. You'll be talking, all of a sudden you see a.
What happened to Marco? Hello. It's just they just slide like a Paul McCartney clone in here. Oh, hello today. I'm Marco Bongiorno.
It's not even a clone. It's just Paul McCartney.
It's just Paul McCartney. I'm here to promote my new album. It's McCartney 3 Reimagined. Also, my new single with Kanye West is over here. I don't know why.
Oh man, yeah. So so where do we slide the potato heads into this mix? I think they're definitely the most powerful of the toys, though, right? Like, there's no other toys more powerful than.
There is another, and I will bring it up farther down the line. We'll get to that.
Another toy that's
There is
now,
another.
You think the squeakies? No.
No. I'll probably about halfway. We'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll bring it
Okay. We should better not forget because I am very
No,
curious.
I got it. I got it up here.
Okay. All right.
Toys
So then,
going into the attic.
yeah, and he says some things which, like, I feel like once again it's more identification with the man Andy, where he says things out loud as a teenager because you just say stuff out loud hormonally, and you just respond to your mom in your mean tone for some reason. When in reality, you don't mean that at all. Like when he says to Molly, "Get away from those," and she goes, "Why do you still have them?" He goes, "Shut up! They're just." He says they're junk. Stay away.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't mean that, even though like even when he says it, he's like, oh, I don't want to
Yeah,
say that. You
and it's
know?
and like he wouldn't think of them as junk if he kept them that long. That's the
Nope.
thing. Like there are very few toys that like I've given away where I'm like, oh, whatever happened to that? And then I was like, oh yeah, I gave it away like 10 years ago.
Yep.
Or like I I every once in a while, like you ever get it where you're like thinking about a Happy Meal toy from the 90s and you're like, well, I guess
hmm
I'll look that up online, and thankfully
It's
collectors haven't gotten
it's
any.
the planes that were zombies.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I had one of those.
Those I had like five, and they were so cool. They like open up and they're little. Oh my gosh! If
Hmm.
you really want to be, can we get sponsored by them, Marco? Can we
By
find a way to get
McDonald's.
sponsored by McDonald's
Hmm.
plain zombie toys from 1997?
Let's get
Yeah.
on it. We got this. I remember. I think one of the funnier Happy Meal toys that we so like I just think about it. So like whenever it was like, it was my sister and I when we would, so we would always get two toys, and because of that, we were able to like, McDonald's. I'm not saying McDonald's people aren't chill anymore, but it's like you go over there and you're like, hey, I got two kids, can I get two different toys? And they usually can just, like
Yeah. Just
they
look
made
at
their
the toys.
magic. Yeah, and I feel like we would get this like we would go like but back then like I feel like McDonald's promotions lasted longer. I don't think they were changing them every week. Like I feel like now like Pokemon cards was like 3 weeks before the world imploded. And I think like I don't because I don't when I was little I don't think that we were like scarfing down McDonald's by the pound or anything, you know. And and so we were able to get like complete sets, and we would use those because they were solid toys. Like you could take a
Hmm
hammer to them, they'd be pretty good. And we actually used some of the toys as like decorations where we're like, oh, well, these are the holiday chicken McNuggets, and these are the Halloween chicken McNugget characters, and they're gonna go in our foyer. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I got the McDonald's Toy Story Woody up in my right now.
is it the little floppy one, or is it the full size one that they
It's
did?
it's the little one that came with like the lasso game or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I got one of those. It's just hanging out right there. Next to
Nice.
my commemorative Buzz Lightyear Walt Disney World mug. So not flexing. I'm not flexing.
No, no,
I
I
am.
got.
I totally am. I am.
I
That's
don't
all I
have
got.
it. I don't have anything Toy Story in here. I got the.
I win today, everybody. I win
No,
today. I'd show you, but
no.
my bed is not made.
So, do you have a toy that you saved from
I'll be honest
childhood?
with you, Marco. I don't know what you just said. You cut out at "do you," and it kind of sounded like you said, "Do you know the Muffin Man?"
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Well, who lives on Drury Lane? Uh,
Yes, yes. He's married to the Muffin Man.
the Muffin Man?
Don't tell him anything.
You monster!
All right. Anyways,
Um,
what'd you ask me? Do I
do
what?
you have a toy that you specifically saved from when you were a child?
Do I have a specific toy when I was a child? Anymore? God, probably not. No, I don't have.
Or like in
I,
storage, or like, you know, like in a box somewhere. Just like,
no, I don't think I do. I don't think I have. Like, I think I've given up. I wish that wasn't the case. I had some really cool stuff in my time,
mhm.
but
What
no,
was your,
it all got donated and stuff.
you're a good man, Charlie Brown. See, I don't, I still have, I am thankful I have storage to save some of the other toys. But what was weird is there are some toys I have where I saved the box as well. And like, I save it because the box was neat, not because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be a
Hmm
collector. And like, but I think I showed him you. I have a stuffed rabbit that I've
hmm
had since I was like 5, because we
Yeah,
bought
I've
it
seen
because
it.
it looked like my rabbit at the time, and that he just sits on a shelf, just sits there,
Hmm
and it's like it scares me because I'm like, oh no, you're dusty, and I need to vacuum you, but half of your stuffing is gone, and like your fur is coming off, and I'm like, there's just
Don't
like
back it. It's like you can hurt him if you do any more.
yeah, and I just like I'll like pat him so the dust will come off, and I'll be like, all right, it's okay, sit on the shelf. You're out of the sun. You're okay, little guy. And he's just sitting there. And it's like, but
Dude, I'm jealous. I'm sad now.
Well, like
I
what
gave away
would
my
you?
whole childhood. Why did I give up my whole childhood? What am I doing? Mom, if you're listening right now, what the
Oh
heck, dude?
no. No,
What the my whole child what did I
but see, I think here's the thing though, is I'm gonna view this from a cynical way where it's like I'm this like I held on to the things I wanted to keep, but you were able to be open and share your toys. I couldn't do what Andy did at the end of this.
I do what Andy did because that's what was done for me though, because I always had
Yeah,
secondhand toys. And so like
yeah,
it just made sense.
and like I'd like to pretend that one isn't better than the other, but I do think being able to give up your toys is a more noble cause than holding on to them.
It is, but I wish I had my toys or my Pokemon cards or my Yu-Gi-Oh cards
I
or my
mean,
Legos or
don't
my
get
you know what I'm saying? Like
don't
I
get
wish I
me
had my
started on.
Legos over everything.
Oh man, don't get me started on Pokemon cards, man. I was looking up prices of ones I had. I remember, okay, what like I feel like everyone I knew had that like they bought their like pack that one pack where it was like you had the chance to get the Charizard, like the starter pack. It was like 60 cards, I think. And then after that, you were going either booster cards or you were doing sets that you'd find. And like I remember we used to go to Marukai. We used to go. It's now Tokyo Central, I think. And I'd run to. They had this little corner booth in their store where it was all the Pokemon stuff, and I was like, haha, and like you get all this stuff. And I always bring this up, and I think this is just a memory that may have only formed in my head and maybe like two other people's. Do you remember the Pokemon Meryl? He's like the little round, like
No, ball at the end of it.
yeah. Do my friends and I, or at least we went to the same elementary school, so I'm sitting there going like, I remember this at our elementary school that we all thought Meryl's name was going to be Pika Blue, and that's what we refer to him as. And we're like, oh, it's Peekaboo, Peekaboo. And then like when it came out and they're like, it's Meryl, I'm like, I don't like him anymore. His name's not Pika something. And so I remember I went to the store and I bought this set of cards. It was three cards and it had like a panoramic. I think it was like Pokemon Island Adventure thing. It's three cards and it was presented with like a long width postcard. It was like the size of a legal envelope.
hmm
And the set wasn't terrible. It wasn't terribly cheap. It was like three cards for the price of a booster pack.
hmm
And I had them. They were really cool. And they were watercolor and stuff like that. And um, I checked the price of that set, and
hmm
that set out of the packaging, just if you have the three cards, you don't even need the artwork, is going for $500 on eBay right now. I'm just like, and I
Marco,
got,
I worked at the swap meet growing up, right? And
yeah,
so like I was like really tight with the trading card guy. The baseball card guy was my grandpa's buddy. And so whenever we got baseball cards in like real estate units or like real estate auction kind of thing or like
Storage
in
Wars.
storage units, exactly. Whenever we got like baseball cards, he was the guy we'd go to for appraisals and also to sell to if it was like a really expensive one, we'd sell it to him at whatever price because we know we're making a huge profit on it and he could sell it for the profit of wholesale to retail.
Hmm.
And it worked out great. Well, anyways, when Pokemon came out, that guy had a son. Me and him were cool. Okay. And so I had my notebook and I'd say probably the first 5 to 10 pages were all hollow. All
Probably
hollow.
like first edition
Yeah, oh
hollows.
for sure.
Ah.
And then I had like the whole thing and the back like probably like 15, 20 pages of mine were all just the most cool, like the ones I thought was the art was cool or whether I thought it was just like a really good card. Japanese cards.
Oh yeah, dude, those are my favorite. I was oh Japanese cards, and they
The
always had
art was
art.
so much cooler.
It was so great. Let me see if I can. I'm in the cabinet of running out of
I
screen over
had
here.
thousands, Marco. Thousands. And you know what I parlayed that into? Because like that was a lot of money back then even. I can't
Hmm.
imagine how much money I gave away. But I parlayed that into the most gangster. And I mean like I probably lost maybe two battles in this entire deck's life. Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I went from Pokemon right into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like,
Hmm.
oh, here we go. And I just started hitting them cards. Boom. But I would have the best Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I never learned how to play battle card games, and I remember I was never like, and I think about it now, and I'm like, I don't know what it was. Like I feel like now I'd be okay with it. Like, sorry, I ran over to the cabinet to get. this is the last remaining stack of the Pokemon cards that I owned when I was little, and it's all I saved energy cards and to use as bookmarks because it's a bougie thing. I don't know,
That's cool.
but you know what's really weird? In this stack, I have, I guess this is a dark energy card,
Well, that's a
I
trip.
think. And then this one is like, I think she's supposed to be like a radio DJ. I can't remember this it's a
Mm.
specific character. And then I've got, sorry, got a Japanese oddish.
Oh, that's cool. Like, watch,
And
no, pull it up, put it up.
like,
Look at
it's
the
like
art on that. It's not
it's
the
like
regular oddish.
3D. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's a it says on here KG. Yeah, because I think it's KG Kinabuki or one of the artists. He always did these weird 3D renders, like
Mm-hmm.
bowling alley graphic level. But then Japanese Pikachu. But the
So
weirdest
even
thing,
that one, look at it's not regular Pikachu.
yeah, he's like,
That's
yeah.
that's so much cooler. He's like jumping over stuff, with lightning hitting him in every direction. That's
hmm
so tight.
I think the weirdest card that I have in this stack that, well, also too, considering that I love the fact that you have the American
Hmm.
cards, and then you have the
Theirs are so
Pocket
much
Monster
cooler.
cards. These look
Yeah.
so good. Sorry, last Pokemon thing I'll bring up, and then we can get back to this. I
So
saved the silliest card ever. Do you remember when the Pokemon first movie came out, and you'd go and you'd get your Ancient Mew card? I
mm-mm.
don't have my Ancient Mew card, which is worth like something today if you were to have one. I have the card that tells you what the Ancient Mew card is and the stuff you write on it, but I don't actually have the Ancient Mew card. And I don't know why I
That's
saved
the
it.
most Marcos thing I've ever heard in
It's
my
like the
entire
most
life.
like arc,
I
like it's
saved the manuals throughout
saved.
the thing.
Puzzled by the other side of this card? Go to Pokemon trading card game near you to find out what Ancient Mew can do. Correctly fill the blanks, like it's telling you to go to Wizards. Remember that store, Wizards?
Yep.
It's telling you to go there, and it's like Pokemon 1995. I was talking with someone the other day about Pokemon and about how like you can find the movie, you can find the movie on DVD, but I don't think the movie DVD contains Pikachu's Vacation. What kind of crime is that? I feel like Aaron Kozaka, who, if he's listening to this, I think I saw him in here, needs to weigh in on that. Like, we need to organize, like, I would organize a Pokemon movie screening.
Pikachu's Vacation was dope.
Yeah,
That was main attraction level stuff right there.
yeah, yeah. So, back to Toy Story.
Oh my God, dude, yeah, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, snap, dude. My bad. Sorry.
Toys Story,
Anyways,
so
I was just getting ready to duel.
we can jump back to Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like there's a way we have to.
No, we're good.
So
We're
in the
good. Those days are
Pokemon
gone.
universe, where does
Okay,
Blue
so we've
Eyes?
left off with we left off with us talking about our favorite toys because I've given up all my toys. You still have a couple, and Andy is now going through that impasse now of whether or not he should give up his toys and donate them as his mother asked, which my mom asked me to do, and I just did. Which I'm still butthurt, Mom, if you're listening. I want my toys back. Like I used to have this really. I'm done. Never mind. I'm not gonna go on this. I had some really cool toys. Okay.
I
Anyways,
feel like you had like a Megazord, or you had like the little.
you read my mind. I had the Zeo. It was the Megazord housing for all the Zords. It was sweet. And I would just put every generation of Megazord in there and I'd pop it open and be like, get ready because every Power Ranger's coming to play. And it was
Man,
tight. Anyways,
I'm
my mom made me donate that, and now we're sad. And now Andy's about to go through the same sadness because he thinks that he needs to donate his toys, but he says no, he's going to put them in the attic. But what does Mom do? Exactly. Keep the sentimental ones. That's what I'm saying,
mhm.
Mom. Well, you know what? Andy's mom does your one better. She takes the trash bag of toys that was going into the attic and puts it with the trash. What's the point of that, Marco? What's the point of that?
I think it was Andy's mistake of putting it in a black trash bag. But
Yeah, well, I
but at
just
the
like
same time, black trash bags would probably be good to store it in because it won't let the sun or anything else into it.
exactly,
Yeah, we used to
exactly.
have at my old house. We had an attic, and um, I remember that was one of the things that we were able to store like old toys. But I remember like every couple months or like every year we'd take it out and be like, "Do you want this?" No, throw it out.
Hmm.
Um, so it's brought up in the comments. It's like, is Andy not going to have kids or what? And it's like that's one thing that like I'm like, oh, I'm going to save these toys for my kids if I have them or eventually or whatever. But I'm just
Does
sitting
that mean
there
my mom called it?
going,
She's like, nope, sorry, Sean, you're not gonna have.
no,
I could tell when you were a kid. dying a virgin, dude.
No, she's
Dude's gonna
probably
die a
no,
virgin.
no, she's probably like, no grandkid of mine's gonna play with Dragon Zords. That's
I
where
had
I draw
Power
the
Rangers
line.
once. I'm over it.
You can
It's
have a friend
coming.
who has a Pizza Planet truck, but I draw the line at
Well,
mechanical.
Woody brings it up too that he's that's like that's the silver lining going in the attic is that they'll be there for Andy when he has kids,
Hmm.
which I think is the reason you keep your most sentimental toys. I have things I've kept from my child and whatnot, but they weren't toys. Like I have a bunch of old Magic Johnson memorabilia and stuff,
Hmm.
and like the things like those mattered to me a lot when I was a child. I have
Yeah,
old
yeah.
books I have my old original Chronicles of Narnia collection and everything. Like
Hmm.
those are things like I'm down to give my kids when they're old and everything. But like I don't know why I never kept toys.
I think
So
it's just
he's, huh,
they just take up more like space than a
yeah,
book or something. Like
I
at
have
least with
so
a
many
book,
other
you're like they're
things.
on a bookshelf. They're there. They're
I kept my bobbleheads. I
oh
used to
man,
have some really sweet bobbleheads back in the day.
I gotta I gotta go through my bookshelf because every time that I look at my bookshelf and I'm like, why were our yearbooks so large in high school? They were
They were
like they're
huge.
ridiculous. They're like
You could
300
really, you
pages.
could mess somebody up with one
You
of
could
those,
hurt
bro.
someone with them.
You could
You
just
could,
sit there, bro. Dark alleyway. You know what I'm saying? You could make
yo,
somebody
Sean,
forget with one of those.
get 2008. Oh wait, no, this guy's a big guy. Get 2007. This will teach him a lesson.
Hit it with the
Take
Leatherbound 2010.
Get his
Well,
fingers. Get the fold out. We're gonna give him paper cuts, but in the webbing of his fingers with this
oh,
poster
I'd be
board. Here we
so
go.
messed up. I'd be so, yo, dude. If there was like a serial mugger that was giving people paper cuts, bro, I'd be absolutely terrified. I would be absolutely terrified. Once he holds you down, and then it gets your hand, and it gives you 6 paper cuts.
And his accomplice, he gives you an Indian burn or give you an arm burn.
You could mess someone up by showing him my yearbook picture for sure.
And then his other friend, he has you stand up straight and he takes a razor scooter and he hits your shin with
Right
it.
in the shin, right
Right
in the
in
ankle.
the shin. Toom. It's like,
And they blindfold you and make you walk back to your car, but there's sporadic Legos spread across the.
and it's uphill both ways in the snow.
Well, so Andy doesn't know that has no idea for a long time the toys aren't going to be where he thought they were,
Yeah, at
and then
least yeah,
it's been like what, like 3 days or so.
3 days. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the toys get stuck. They're really adept at this point at just like being adventure toys. It seems like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like they get out of that trash bag as much as it seems like it's the end, which Pixar's done multiple times. I want to really bring that up as well. In Pixar throughout to this point, Pixar's really done a lot with death, up
Hmm.
being the climax of that so far, in the sense that we really learned how to deal with death and loss with with Carl's wife. And there's just been a couple times where like they straddle like even in The Incredibles, like every time they say that the heroes no more, it's because they were killed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it happens over and over again in these movies where like even in Finding Nemo, there's a bunch of times where it seems like all is lost.
Hmm.
And in the opening scene of this, the train goes over the edge,
Yeah.
and Joan Cusack is Jessie,
Hmm.
Woody, and she shakes. She literally, I watched it and I watched her. She does this, and then she goes Woody, and like those little things, a little quiver and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That Pixar's thrown at you. I was sitting going like,
Peppering.
are they? I watched this time. I was like, man, they really making you like feel the fact that Woody might go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can call it foreshadowing, but like, ooh, man.
Hmm.
And yeah, the whole movie Soul, which I'm gonna bring up one real quick side note. I really, really hope that they re-release Soul in theaters
Yeah.
because I think I've said it before, just capturing
That
how
first
large the
yeah.
void of sound is in when he dies,
Hmm.
and that void into the next life, into heaven and the whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
that there, it's not the same. That contract you sign with everybody when you walk in by buying your ticket to shut the hell up and just watch a movie. I can only imagine what that does to the movie Soul if you were in theaters when he dies.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I hope like Draft House or somebody, Alamo Draft
Hmm.
House does it, or like Cinerama Dome, like any of those spaces would be
Somebody,
amazing.
I'll take my money. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I want to do that really bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're getting all this death from that. Then we get into this next part where they're in the trash bag. In the trash
Hmm.
bag, you got Jesse freaking out again about how I knew it. It's just like Emily all over again. Blah, blah. And then
Hmm.
like
They're
the
all
whole
going through their own trauma, and it's like they're just, and then they find a solution. They jump into the sunny side box.
it's the what's the point thing. But even the utilized Rex. Like last time we saw this, Rex was use your head. Now it's
Hmm.
what's the point? And they've really learned how to like utilize the tools around them. I feel like
Hmm.
as toys. Immediately they're already inside the recycling bin and making their way back. Like not just them, but Pixar, we'll put it that way, has
Hmm.
really figured out how to maneuver in this space, in this universe they've created.
Hmm.
One second. Um, and so I was really impressed with that. I was like, uh, so they do something in the beginning with Woody where they add a lot of like rose to his cheeks, make him real rosy,
Hmm.
And I feel like he kind of like they're trying to make him seem really innocent and everything now, like really just like fatherly, and he's
Hmm.
doing that. And in the scene where he's trying to convince them to stay and that Andy didn't mean to throw him away and all that stuff, I'm just sitting there going like, they're treating him like Toy Story 1 Woody right now.
Hmm.
And he's so far past that. And it's so
Yeah.
crazy to see the way he's acting compared to like the journey. Because like we know now as an audience, having seen all the Pixar films, that Woody's the main character of this whole thing, not Andy. And
Hmm.
in this movie, still, we're painted with this picture about it's told from the scope of the toys, but it's really about Andy. And I just really felt like I don't know, like it was a real weird. It was a weird scope to see the way the toys treat him after everything that we've gone through, knowing where Woody is at now.
Hmm.
So,
I comedic beat that I really like from that scene when they're in the car and
uh-huh.
they're like, Andy was throwing us in the trash, and then Woody's just like, he just goes, he was putting you in the attic, and it's just like no dramatic like Tom Hanks yell, but it's
Yeah,
like it's so angry. You're like, oh my god,
I
just
agree.
no one can yell like Tom Hanks. Few can yell like Tom Hanks, I'd say.
He did
And
such a good job in this.
yeah, it's
It's really sad too to see how many toys are gone. Like in Toy Story 1, there's a
yes.
stadium of toys essentially, it feels like.
Hmm.
You know, staff meeting everybody and
Hmm.
there's 90 toys in there.
And now it's
There's
like
it's like the
8.
original 6. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
what's going on? This is crazy. I was really moved by that. And like when he said, "Where's everybody? This is everybody." And it's like,
Hmm.
ooh,
Well, even the
that
line
hurt.
of like, oh, this character's gone, this character's gone, and then they set up Toy Story 4 with just like, you know, even Bo, and then you're like, are they going to sit in this moment? And then it's like, nope, on to the next thing. You're like,
They
oh,
do
oh,
for just enough of a beat for your heart to sink.
just yeah,
And
yeah.
they don't pick it up. That's what hurt right there. Is like
Hmm.
in most times in kids movies and stuff, they don't let you be sad. They let me
Yeah.
be sad a lot in this movie, man. A lot. Okay, so they make their way to Sunnyside and you get Lotso Huggins Bear,
Hmm.
who's wrong for so many reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun
It was.
fact, Disney was sued for the Lotso whatchamacallit thing. That was crazy. It's a trip how I feel like they have to sell like push them even harder now just so they can make the money back on that
Yeah.
lawsuit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like but his whole thing there. First of all, his character who's he voiced by? What's his name?
I'm
Uh
looking at Ned Beatty. Ned Beatty.
yeah, he's done some really cool stuff. I pulled up his thing earlier. Uh
Just that like in I feel like he's got like a John Goodman to him, where it's like, oh,
mhm.
he's Southern, but he's also 6'4" and could break you over his leg, kind of thing. Where
Well, I
don't
mean,
cross him.
he's done some real Southern movie. He was in Deliverance, yo. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
that's
Yes.
as Southern as it gets, and
Hmm.
he's a main staple of that movie. So like a perfect character for this whole thing, because like if you've ever been to the South or been there, they're notorious for their hospitality and everything, but also it's not all genuine sometimes. Like
Hmm.
there's a saying that's really popular in the South, which is known as "bless your heart, bless
Hmm.
their heart," and if you're privy to it, it doesn't mean bless your heart.
Nope.
You know what I mean? It means get a load of this guy. That's what it really
Hmm.
means. You know what I'm saying? It means what a idiot. You know what I mean? Like so. I say all that because like it's the guys, it's the ruse of like, oh yeah, no, I open the door for you. I say please and thank you. I don't care about you, and I'll do
Hmm.
anything I can to make sure I get further and past you.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, it's very, it's that archetype is used very effectively in his character, and just that whole, all the character, they introduce a cast of characters at um at Sunnyside that I think are neat, where it's like in other situations you'd be like, yeah, it's that character, but they all are unique enough. You get
Hmm.
Ken, you get Stretch, the octopus with by Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg. I wish they gave her more lines because the
Yeah.
one line they gave her, I was like, "That's Whoopi Goldberg." And I was
Hmm.
excited. I was like, "She'll say another word in the entire movie." That was
Hmm.
it. That was
Does
it.
like two more lines and then like does like a gasp or like a oh at one point,
Yeah.
and
I
then
was like, man, I bet she probably had more lines and they just didn't make it
yeah, they may have like cut down the character or something, and
because
then
you don't get Whoopi Goldberg to gasp.
yeah,
You know what I'm
you don't,
saying?
yeah.
Like that. That's
Hmm. And then
um.
but like just they have like a cast of unique characters and like Bookworm and all this, and then I can't
Well,
bring up
Michael
Lotso's
Keaton
posse.
as Ken. Michael
Yes.
Keaton as Ken is phenomenal. Let me tell you
Michael
something.
Keaton just across the board is
I'm a
such a good
fan.
choice.
I'm
So
a fan of the Keaton.
this is his second role in a Pixar film. So he was Chick Hicks in the
Oh,
first
you're
Cars film.
right.
Hmm.
Yep, 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 yep,
And
yep,
so
yep.
to use him in that like his bravado and his tight-lipped bravado way he talks.
Hmm.
Um, but we have to bring up
Bookworm.
beside no, we got to bring up the one. We got to bring up the elephant in the room, the tallest character of that posse,
Baby.
Big Baby.
Big baby.
All I
Yeah.
hear, all I hear is Jake saying "Big Baby," which is "Big Baby." So I'm sure he'd say that all the time, or at least maybe he just said it in such a way that it just burned into
It
my
stuck with
brain.
you. That's
Yeah,
cool. Big baby.
Big Baby.
Oh
Spinning his
man.
head around all Exorcist style. He's just like, oh gosh,
I
Jake.
don't know how I feel about like I get it. You have to be able to forgive.
Hmm.
But I don't know how I feel about the happy ending of this movie. I know I'm skipping away to the end, but
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because we're about to go through all the terrible things that they do at Sunnyside,
yeah.
we just give them all a pass at the end. I don't know how I feel about that. Kind of feel like, y'all did some terrible things, dude.
Hmm.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
know, dude. Just
I
because we killed the
it
Godfather doesn't mean that
yeah,
the
yeah,
family's no
yeah. The
innocent.
family's just like, oh, we was just following orders. See, we were
Yes.
just. I'm sorry that defense would not stand up
Yana,
to
we're not
cross
very wise
examination.
guys. That's all it is. We're just not very
They
wise
call
guys.
us wise guys. Yeah. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, but at the end of the day, I'm still a tool. So it's just like,
So that ruse they play on them is done to a T. It feels
hmm.
almost like a slide. Like like you can go on a slide from 30 stories up and you
Hmm.
can make your way down to the ground and not even know you just traveled 30 stories. It was just a
Hmm.
slide. And
Yeah,
that's
and
what
they
they
took,
do is they walk them right into the caterpillar room where it's
and
like
just
you start off in this beautifulness and it's like wasteland. You don't even realize you're in a wasteland because you just had such a
hmm.
good time on the slide.
And then you're just like, here you go. I love that, like the little throwback to the toys, just like shaking underneath the
Hmm.
cabinet and stuff. It's the throwback to Tin Toy, and it's just I like that they're like Rex just takes the brunt of it. It's like it's kick.
They all do.
Yeah,
They take
getting
it. I mean, did you see what they did to Jesse? Whop! Against the wall, yo!
yeah,
They just chucked her. That's not even playing.
just throwing things. The
Oh,
when I was watching the scene, those little Fisher Price popper pushers, when you push it
yeah.
along there. It made me think of there was another toy that they show in that scene where I wanted to look it up. Do you remember those flappy-footed duck pushers? Like,
Yeah.
I was looking them up and I was like, oh, I've always wanted one of these. And I realized like they're like handmade, some of them, and they're like $50 because they're made of wood. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to spend that
You can
kind
get
of
a
money.
cool one for your desk. So you can just kind of push across your desk to be kind of cool.
I think what would be really funny, and this is something that someone's probably already built, but I was like, I feel like when surveyors have to do their distance marking, I think it would be funny to just do those little distance wheels with a little foot,
Mm.
have it be a little duck, and be like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm measuring the distance of this line." Just like pushing it along.
My dad's an appraiser and has to do that regularly, and I think it'd be really funny to give him one of those for his birthday. Like, really funny.
Do you just want to get him the duck, or do you want to actually make like a
I
functioning
want to get
duck?
I want to get a functioning one where he can push it around.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's figure that out.
Yeah, let's do it. Next project. Pizza Planet Project Part 2.
Pizza Planet truck, little duck surveyor wheel. It's like
That's right.
distance marker. Um, so the whole, I think what's neat with this movie too is it all kind of takes place in, there's very few settings, and that's good. It's very effective for the storytelling. And so like Sunnyside starts as like this haven, and then it turns into a prison breakout film. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
really neat um, dynamic to it. Like Woody getting out and finding out about let me check the order that we're going.
Good.
Yeah, so like them trying to, Woody being able to get out, being, adopted by Bonnie, and encountering the theater troupe of, Buttercup and Prickle
Mm-hmm.
Pants and Dolly and Totoro and
Bonnie Hunt as Dolly is a wonderful casting as well.
hmm hmm
Wonderful
that's
casting.
her
And the way that
third
yeah,
third
and the way
role.
that Bonnie plays with the toys, not Bonnie, but Bonnie. The way that she's got Dolly just coming up, she's like, "What's that? What's behind me?"
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Ah! Like all those little gags are so cute and adorable and good, and just like exactly what I
I
remember like playing. It was
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like it was so good.
hmm
Um, that whole scene's great. Going back to the sunny side, it was cool. They studied a lot. I looked into it. They studied a lot of prison movies just to kind of capture that feeling at Sunnyside. Because even though it is daycare, it is a prison. Make no mistake, that is most definitely the Toys prison at this time. They are all locked up, and they're looking for their way out. Um, I really enjoyed. What was the name of the clown?
Chuckles.
Chuckles, dude. That's a gag I get behind. There's Chuckles. And what's that?
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
I remember. Played by Bud Lucky. Man,
Yep.
I remember Lotso. We were.
Dude,
I
that
like it
whole
too.
huh.
There's a very subtle gag, and it's a character thing and all this stuff. I love in the flashback when Lotso snaps and he's like, "She replaced us," and then Chuckles has one line in his old voice, and he's like, "No, no, she replaced you," but it's just Bud Lucky raising his voice. No, but she replaced you. Cuts back, and he's like, "Yeah, I remember that."
It's the genuineness of it, though. They just have him do a really crappy clown voice.
But then it's just great because he's like sitting in a window. It's just like, what are you doing? Staring at the moon. Just doing my thing, you know?
Well, dude, Lotso is evil as he's the most evil villain I feel like of the Pixar, of the Pixar of the Toy Story franchise. I'm sorry. Like, do you think
Mm,
Prospector Pete is more evil? Because I don't.
no, I think like Lotso, yeah, they keep like increasing the evil of the villains, and then Toy Story 4, we'll get into that later. But like Lotso, I think what really tough is like with him is that it's like in that moment you're like, okay, and I think what's neat is all of the villains, and like this is just, you know, story theory and stuff, where it's just like the villains are just reflections of the
Hmm.
heroes, and you can see how Lotso is like what Jessie could have become if she became bitter and like
Oh,
found her way back.
I thought the same thing watching it.
Yeah, and it's like there's all these things that they play off of each other like that, and like Lotso goes to this point where it's like he has every reason to be sad, frustrated, whatever, that he's been replaced. But to take
Two other toys.
that weren't replaced and start his own, uh, like toy prison thing,
Well,
like
Marco, I got a question for you, and this
yeah,
has to do with him not as smart as they make Lotso out to be. I mean, do you would you be mad if you had two of the same toy
no.
at all?
Well, like
And
with
I feel like a lot of times I'd be kind of pumped.
yeah. Yeah, like I don't like when it comes to like if I had I'm trying to because like you always had like two action figures that were probably pretty similar, and there was always one that was the leader and there was one that was always the sidekick. But then, if you wanted to, you'd probably have two different GI Joe guys. I don't know, because I don't think I had anything. If I had a duplicate of something, it was usually like, oh, I had two Happy Meal toys that just happened to be,
Hmm.
or like, you'd have the Hot Wheels cars and you'd have this Ferrari and that
Yeah.
Ferrari. Yeah, no, I think I'd be jazzed, and I think though if one night like a dusty copy of a toy that I had already replaced reappeared, that would be that talk like
That's
a
sick.
Southern person. Hello, Sean. Remember me? You left me on the side of the road. I'm back, covered in dust and mud, and I've come for revenge and bacon. It's
Now
like,
I said, well, with all due respect, now, Marco, now I'm a vegan now. I don't eat the bacon.
I brought biscuits, and I'm gonna make marmalade out of your head, and we're gonna put them on the biscuits.
You want to talk about torture? You brought biscuits and you ain't bring me nothing to drink.
I didn't. Your mouth's gonna be dry, and there's no sweet tea to parch it. Just finish these biscuits.
So we
That's
get
Southern hospitality and Southern interrogation.
it's exactly who Lotso really is though. It's literally this person. So we get this whole thing with the phone, who ends up being a really cool 1940s private eye
Mm-hmm.
dick voice kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
And like it was I thoroughly like the little gags like that Pixar's able to find. I'm saying they're able to navigate through this particular universe, the Toy Story universe, so well. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've gotten so much practice, they know exactly what they can and can't do, what rules they need to obey, what rules we can just blow by and pretend aren't even things. You know what I mean? Like obviously, we all know that little phone toy doesn't actually work like at all. But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, the receiver works perfectly fine, and it sounds like a 1940s phone operator.
Oh,
Like exactly. I love that. It's like we're in
listen
Casablanca or
here,
something.
cowboy.
And then but going to it now. Now we get to it. Ken basically kidnaps Barbie to save her, and then uh, uh, we get Buzz Lightyear, who even though he's agile and can make his way out of the room and everything, it's assisted. I just want to bring it up. I don't think Buzz Lightyear makes our powerful list even close at all. I think he gets just demolished by
Yeah,
everybody because he's a toy, so he's plastic.
yeah.
He's not very sturdy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any kind of super strength at all. He's agile, but a lot of creatures are agile in this
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. You know what I'm saying? The cockroach is more agile than him.
The
Um,
so I think we've arrived at the point where if we're going to talk about Barbie and Ken's whole dynamic in the dream house and
hmm
stuff.
yeah.
I will bring in the contender, and in this corner, weighing
You
so
think
many.
can it
No,
makes?
no, 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 no. Barbie is literally ripping clothing in half. Just and I know it's Ken clothing, but if I like, Sean, if I threw a jacket at you and I said, Sean, rip this jacket in half, you think you could do it? Do you think you could do it
So,
with the?
well, do you think she's got like ant style strength where it's like more so? Because like, here's my thing.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you.
If I had like a small piece of cloth that they used for a Barbie's outfit, I
You'd be
could rip
able,
that in half. Yeah.
certainly. Um, I think
Like, are we
like
scaling her up? Is that what we're doing? We're scaling her to like making her people size, and then she'd be super strength.
I think either that or it's like Ant-Man, where like if she is small and then like well, I guess ripping doll clothing is not complicated, but I would say ripping doll clothing if you are a doll, I think would be more complicated. So
I'm skeptical here, man. Was
okay,
it? I don't remember, but was it ripped at the seams?
she was no, she was well, one of them she was. The jacket she was, it was right down the center, but there's some where she just looks like she's just like cutting it. and, and I'm like
I have to rewatch this scene to get
to get
for
that
confidence.
sense.
I can't put bar. I know I'm not. Look,
It's the silliest exercise, but we're
it's
taking
hard
it.
though, man. The wood carver's definitely. She doesn't touch. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I don't think she's the most power. I don't think Barbie's the most powerful, but I think like she's her and Remy are gonna duke it out, and he's gonna try to pull on her hair, but she's a doll, so it doesn't control her. And then psh, psh, Jodie Benson fighting Patton Oswalt for
I don't
taking home
know.
the prize.
I mean, what if she just? I mean, she could just like rip Remy in half or something based on your strength thing.
It's like
Exact by the tail.
it's like just pulling a Loki and throwing him around. Ow!
Pixar does a great job animating dolls in this. Like the way Ken and Barbie move is
Oh yeah.
so unique to strictly them, and it's
hmm
hilarious and makes for wonderful gags and just good.
Um,
Uh,
Spanish mode,
what?
but
Yeah.
Spanish mode Buzz. That's a great gag. That was fun.
Gosh, I mean, it hadn't been done. You don't see it coming.
hmm
Um, the billion gags they get out of it are so good.
So good.
Isn't it Antonio Banderas that plays him, right?
No, I think it's oh, let's
Is it some
see.
random
I
person?
don't think it is. It's Javier Fernandez Peña, according to let's see. And what did I'm gonna start? Let's see. Javier Fernandez Peña is a Spanish voice actor who guest stars in The Amazing World of Gumball and is best known for the Buzz Lightyear Spanish dub. That's also from a wiki though, so I can't like he probably does just a lot of
It is. It's
local.
Javier Fernandez Peña.
I feel like he's probably the type of dude that does like a lot of localization. Yeah, he's Spanish Buzz, Spanish Buzz. Oh yeah, and he's also the Wii Fit trainer voice for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
That's funny. I've used that character a lot.
We need to do a Smash tourney again soon.
I'd be down.
We need to
We'll
do that.
go. Let's go to Mr. Howard's room.
We gotta do a Smash Brothers tourney that leads into a Pokemon. We'll just stream Pikachu's Vacation
I'd be down.
or something. So
The prison
Span
break. That's where we're at now with
yeah.
prison with Spanish Century Buzz.
Yeah.
And I like that he's back to like. Oh no, he's not Spanish yet. We got prison Century. I mean, we got Century Buzz where he's just reset.
hmm Oh
You
yeah.
gotta deal
He's
with it.
reset to his like
Yep,
old
and so
old
now he's a
ways.
prison guard for them. He's working for the bad guys. They reset him,
hmm
doing they're utilizing the fake fight with Ham and Potato Head. All that whole scene is so done well just because you could tell they studied so many different movies to get the idea of what a prison break would look like, and it does a great job of like you remember in Return of the Jedi.
hmm
Okay, there's a really famous scene where Luke is about to jump off the plank, and Jazz asks if he has any last Jabba the Hutt asks if he has any famous or any last words, and he gives the whole speech about how surrender now or succumb to my power, right?
Yeah.
And right as it does that, they all laugh, and as they laugh, it does the bump,
hmm
bump, and it just keeps on cutting, looking at different
You're
people,
just like,
and everyone's doing like, "You good? Yeah, I'm
you're
good.
good. You
You
know what
good?
we're
Yeah, I'm
doing.
good." All right, you ready for the signal? Yep, on the signal. Let's do this. On the signal, on the signal. And they do that perfectly in this movie, where it just kind of cuts back and forth over and over again, and they do a great job of, as a viewer, making the signal noticeable for us, so we know what the signal is. Obviously, as much as Potato Head bickers with everybody, he cuts you way deeper in real life than he did in that fake fight. You know what I'm saying? So I think all that read really, really well.
Yeah, then just them like just him like running away. Bad baby, bad baby.
Yeah.
I like the gag with Woody on the light and like pulling the like artwork on the string and then dropping down with a bag of marbles and picking up Slinky. Were you okay? Who is scarier in your opinion, Big Baby or the monkey?
Monkey, by far.
like that whole
Easy.
sound design on him was so good. It was just
Baby's
like
just naked. That's the problem with Baby. It's uncomfortable. She got no clothes on.
yeah, and that monkey is just like
That's what the monkey is the reason why I brought up the whole idea of I don't think that they deserve to just be let off the hook. Because at the end they try to make the monkey cool by putting glasses on him.
oh yeah, and they're just like you're still terrifying.
I'm not buying it, Marco. I'm not buying it. Yeah, he's terrifying with sunglasses now.
Let's see.
Now, not even ultraviolet rays can stop him.
Now he's even more powerful. This isn't even my final form. Just like taking him
Frieza.
Sorry, I'm doing double duty here, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking up the Pokemon movies on DVD, and they don't have Pikachu's Vacation. So now I'm looking up torrents. I'm looking up.
We're gonna get it.
We're doing this, man.
So the prison break goes down without a hitch, it seems, right? And to this point, oh, let's also talk about this. I just want to bring it up because they keep on almost killing characters. When
Hmm.
Woody's escaping the first time, he has a great idea about how to fly out of there on the kite and everything, and then the
Yeah.
kite just free falls out of the sky. And you think to yourself, is Woody about to just like murk himself right now? Like, how is he gonna?
Yeah. I would love to like try to construct like a drone with Woody hanging off of it.
That'd be so funny.
There is a lot. It actually happens a lot in this movie. Like I know it happens in all the Toy Story movies, but I feel like it's very apparent that there is a lot of like really wacky slapstick. Like when he's plummeting, he's just like
Flapping.
yeah, and
Yep.
he's like real extreme poses and stuff. And yeah, it's a good little
Yeah.
scene, and it's just him getting back and having the phone talk to him. Listen here,
Hmm.
cowboy, the Teddy Newton. Did you
Hmm.
he he also makes a cameo in a couple of the Mission Impossibles because Brad Bird directed
Hmm.
um,
I didn't
Ghost
know that.
Protocol, and yeah, if you watch Ghost Protocol, he's a voice on a phone, and it's great because you're like, what is the little ring-a-ding phone call? Listen here, Ethan Hunt, you need to get the toys out of
That's so good. That's
you know,
so good.
and then
Yep.
it's just like Tom Cruise and his center tooth are like, oh no, I have to save Tom Hanks. What I
His center tooth.
you've
Oh, it's
you've
so
seen
good.
that, right?
Yeah, it smells like this all the time.
Yeah, perfectly set up
Um,
tooth.
so they get out without a hitch, it looks like. Their plan goes down. Now we're going into the most powerful characters utilized by Mr. Potato Head.
Hmm.
He turns into Mr. Tortilla Head and then into Mr. Pickle Head or Zucchini Head. We can't quite tell.
Hmm.
I should say Cucumber Head or Zucchini Head. He doesn't quite look pickled.
Hmm. I would say I don't know about the pickling operations that would be done at a preschool, but definitely a vegetable garden would be occurring. But man,
Hmm.
kindergarten pickles, they're extra spicy. And
Well, I just wonder. I keep wondering what do you think the scope is of his power? Do you think it's strictly just only items that are non-living, right?
yeah, I'm thinking it's food. I'm thinking because he's done
Potato has to be
potato.
food.
Yeah, I think he's so like there's part of me where I'm like, oh, he's in the top 10, but then Remy could just cook him up because he did the cucumber, he was the tortilla. Mr. Tortilla Head was very funny. That was a great gag. Um,
Dude, it was a flex. Did you see how they kept the hat on him?
is he just like wobbling or does he just
It's
poke it through?
the top of his head is a flappy tortilla, right? And
Hmm.
it's flopping back, forward,
Hmm.
sideways, around. They do a great job of animating the tortilla, but they have to find a way to make the hat stay on. So the whole
Yeah.
time there's a gag going where the hat's up, down, fall, oh, this
It's just
way,
kind of
boom.
bobbling around.
And it stays perfectly right, and it keeps on falling back right in the right spot. And then he stops, and it's like just hanging right just by a little bit, and it's
Hmm.
so cool.
I thought the throwdown with the pigeon was hilarious. I'm watching it again because I'm like, oh, okay, like Mr. Potato gets a couple of holes poked him, so what? He just punches the pigeon. I'm like, whoa, Don Rickles, hold on. I'm not a fan of pigeons. Like he gets a couple good hits and the pigeon even like kind of goes, what the heck? And then takes him out.
um, so they take out the monkey,
Hmm.
they take out the pigeon, they they break out and make their way over to the dumpster.
Hmm.
Excuse me, and they
The
ask
showdown.
Slinky if he can make his way across, and
Hmm.
it seems as though he says he might be old, but he can do it, and he goes for it, and he does, which is when we get the showdown you're talking about between
Hmm.
Lotso.
Yeah, that whole discussion is so interesting because even when presented with the truth, Lotso is committed to his evilness,
Yeah.
his purpose, and like there's, I think what's really interesting with Lotso is for the rest of the film he is given nothing but redemption opportunities.
And he almost takes him.
He almost takes them, which is what's so frustrating about his character, which is a great character, and it's like he has so many chances to fix it. Like if he
Hmm.
had just hit the emergency stop button,
I feel
like
like one of the ways they foreshadow all this, like just how terrible all this is
hmm
just like the second they go down that trash chute, the color palette changes dramatically.
Hmm.
It goes from kindergarten colors and the stuff that's on our t-shirts,
Hmm.
to just like these really hazy greens and disgusting grays and yellows, and everything just looks very like sepia toned almost. It's
Hmm.
just not in, and you can just it just feels like it's the, because like you ever been out and your mom's like, nothing good happens past midnight, Marco.
Yeah.
If they're out, it's past midnight. You know what I mean? It's obvious. I think it's like supposed to be like 4 or 5 in the morning or something like that. But still,
Hmm.
like it's nothing good can happen now. We haven't gone to sleep yet.
Hmm.
And that whole scene where Baby kind of takes back her power, like it was really powerful. But I was really worried about the toys and were they going to make it out of that scene the first time I remember.
Hmm.
And like when they like push him and like Whoopi Goldberg starts to push him off the edge and all that stuff, I was like, how could they? How could this go any other way? You know what I mean? They keep writing themselves into this corner, and they're literally in a literal corner at this point. So when they get to the dump, I clapped again. I remembered while watching this time, I was like, I remember clapping in 2 movies when I was around that age. I clapped when Star Wars came out and I saw the Millennium Falcon fly across the screen for the first time. I stood up and clapped. And I
Hmm.
clapped when I saw the claw come out
Yeah.
of the sky. Because even this time, I'm sitting there, that scene they put together, Marco, the
It's
holding
so
hands.
good. Yeah, it hits me. It's weird. So like it hits me different each time. And like when I remember seeing it in theaters, like it was wild hearing just everyone's reaction to that. Like it's just feeling that many people in that small of a space being on edge. And like I it didn't take it I didn't this is maybe like shows like how I get caught up in moments. It didn't hit me, then it's very obvious now that like, Woody's obviously the last one they're gonna focus on. And Woody waits so long before he accepts it. Or like, he's holding hands, he's connected with them, but then he's still like, even within seconds of them being saved, he's still, you can tell he's like, okay, okay,
Putting
okay,
it together. I
there's
gotta
got
find
to
a
be
way.
something. Yeah, there's something I can do. There's something that, and it's like, you feel that, those feelings of like that hopelessness, but even in that desperation, you're just going like, you're trying to fire your synapses so it'll make it make sense. Like,
Well, like, dude, even though you watched it, they foreshadowed the claw with the aliens right when they get to the dump.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
I didn't. I just remember. I didn't. I look. I love watching movies. I love picking up on all the stuff and like knowing how all the different devices that the writers are using. I dig that stuff. I didn't pick that one up the first time, even a little bit.
Yeah,
They were in such a corner, Marco. Like
yeah.
I just remember being like a child,
Hmm.
or not child. I guess what was it, like 20 or whatever when this came out.
Yeah,
I remember watching this and being like, I cannot believe that. Like I couldn't think of a way to save them
yeah,
as a
yeah.
viewer. Like I couldn't think.
And I think like I think what's so brilliant about that foreshadowing of the claw is that it's a throwaway gag almost. It's like, oh, the claw, oh no, they're gone forever, and like you are presented with like, okay, the aliens are gone, but then they go to the same place, but how did and it's like, I'm not going to go into like how did the aliens get up there. It's just the fact that that's what they were going for. They're going to get there, and they did.
And I
And
definitely thought about that as well. And I was like, okay, because they got swooped up 2 seconds before them, and
mhm,
our toys got put immediately into the line for the incinerator. And
mhm.
like, if you've ever been to a dump, it does make sense because there's so much happening. They very well could have ended up on the opposite side
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah.
dump just by that one little move.
Hmm. And it's just like, it's what's so good about it though is you're like, wait, there's a claw comes in. Who would be operating it this late? And then that payoff, and it's so good because it's like a good 10 minutes between those connecting, and it's great. Yeah, and I love the way that they're working the little control sticks are like
And they're
moving
like
up.
they're waving too at the
Yeah,
same time. It's so good. It feels like once they get into that, it's like I God, they've messed up, dude. Can you imagine being on a ride? You know what I'm saying? And like at one point in the ride that gets to the incinerator, like, oh my God, and like you're like looking at like what like it's probably make it hot down
yeah,
there, and all of
yeah,
a sudden, and you just slowly make your way back to the beginning of the ride again, and it's just them waving at you. The
mhm.
claw.
Yeah, stopper.
That'd be such a sweet ride. But it looks like a ride when you're watching the movie, just the way it's
Yeah,
done.
that
Um,
conveyor belt.
that once again, the growth in Woody is evident, and it shows me after watching all of them now and seeing the whole thing that like it's not done yet.
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
when he says
Before,
that that he's not worth it, you know what I'm saying? He says lots is not worth it. And I saw that, I was like, okay, like he's not spiteful
yeah,
anymore. You know what I'm saying? That part of Woody is so far gone,
yeah,
and like that makes me realize like, okay, well he deserves his happy ending.
yeah. I think the more that I watch this series, like before, like I wasn't like, ugh, Toy Story 4, but before I was like, is it necessary? And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, I think it was necessary. But then, you know, and watching when you watch them all together, you're like, oh yeah, because it's like this movie marks the end. Like it doesn't mark the ending of like the whole gang, but then they really focus on Woody in 4 because he's the like you said, he's the main character of this whole thing.
Well, you
And
know what I noticed about it was that there's a bit of foreshadowing with the whole Woody there's that moment where Andy's giving Bonnie all the toys in the end, right?
mhm.
Which I want to know, what did he write on the post-it note?
That I don't know. It's probably
It had to
like
have been such the perfectly
like
worded something to get him to just do that.
mhm. And he thought his mom wrote it. So I'm sure Woody has had
Some
at this
practice
point,
doing that.
yeah, like forging stuff.
Yeah.
And like we see that like I think what's funny is like we see in 4 that Woody has no issue with crossing that line of like breaking the rules a little bit with the interaction with humans in certain ways. And I'm like, yeah, it's like you don't know what he wrote. You know that whatever he wrote was probably like, hey, you should donate these to Bonnie, or it should be like, you
hmm
know,
But well, so what I was getting to is that we realized that this isn't Woody's happy ending when there's a shot of Bonnie and she's holding all the toys
hmm
and the music, because like I'm hitting 2 points at once.
hmm
The one point I want to hit on is the music, but we'll come back to that at the end. And she's holding all of them, and the music's just building up so perfectly to where you realize that there's this resolution in the music because all the toys are happy and
hmm
they're all being played with, and they have this new home. But Woody's not in that mix of toys yet. He's still in the box, right?
hmm
And I feel like that was a bit of a bit of foreshadowing in the sense that like the gang's happy, but this
yeah,
isn't Woody's happy ending.
yeah,
Woody did like what the army men say, mission's complete.
yeah.
That was Woody's mission being completed, was getting them to Bonnie.
hmm
You know what
So
I'm saying?
Woody wanted to make sure all of his friends were taken care of.
I'm
And
honestly really sad now just thinking about that because it's not his happy ending and it hits me different now.
yeah, it's interesting because like I remember and like for years I was like Toy Story 3 is a perfect ending. And now I'm just like I watch it now, I'm like, oh man, like he didn't get to go to college with Andy. He made sure his friends were taken care of first, and by doing that,
God,
and it's like it's good. It's so good.
you can see I'm really sad right now thinking about like the sacrifice that Woody put forth for all that.
hmm
And then to know, but I mean, I should be happy because to know how it all ends and everything, like
Yeah,
now that's a happy ending.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I
Oh
can't wait
man,
to talk about Toy Story 4 because the
I got
more that
goosebumps.
the farther away I am
Straight
after.
up goosebumps right now, dude. Just thinking about like Woody.
Mhm.
I'm such a nerd. Nerd. Anyways,
Nerd.
didn't they know
So
nerds make better lovers?
with
Sorry. I
lots
feel like
of
we could do a real good Revenge of the Nerds throwback between me and you. Like,
with
okay, anyways.
Lotso's ultimate fate, I think that is a fate worthy of his crimes.
I agree.
I
It's
mean,
it's the worst fate of any of the villains thus far.
yes, yes,
Especially when you
and
take into account that okay, as bad as Sid was, garbage men make more than teachers, so
that's the
he's not
thing
doing
too. It's like Sid's doing
that.
okay. Like Sid, I'm sure like Sid's like either in a heavy metal band or he's doing like car mechanic stuff or like he probably goes to
Yeah.
Burning Man. Dude's probably building giant grasshoppers that spray fire or something weird.
No, he's going to Megadeth and Coheed and Cambria shows for sure.
Now that just makes me want to go to Burning Man and make like a giant pterodactyl headed
Yeah,
ball.
see, now you were talking trash. Now you want to be a Burning Marco.
So we're gonna have Toy Story drones. We're gonna have duck flapper
Oh,
contractor
I'm down.
wheels.
That's how we're gonna get there. Is we're gonna get there on a man powered duck flapper.
Oh no, it's the duck flapper. And for some reason, the duck talks like Macho Man.
That's what it sounds like. Um, so we got Lotso gets murked on the front by the bugs. Hey, better
Hmm.
keep your mouth closed.
Yep.
I want to talk about the music.
Yep. Randy Newman.
Not just does he score it as well?
Hmm.
He does a phenomenal job. I don't know. I'd love to watch the just the process behind the scoring of this movie because, especially, it comes to a real climax in the uh, dumpster scene.
Yeah.
I'm saying the dump scene when they're all gonna die. And everything. He's got music just dialed to where you feel like you're extending your hand out to Buzz and everything too. And the way that it just kind of like it gets to this big climax in the music, and then it kind of wow,
Yeah.
and it just kind of sits in silence almost. You know what I'm saying, and then the claw comes down, and it's just done so perfectly. Like it accompanies so well, and that might be the climax, but the real creme de la creme of it
Hmm.
was when they're at Sunnyside the first time,
Hmm.
and the way they're able, like I told you, it's a slide. A lot of that's the music and the way that he is able to accompany Lotso in his monologue around Sunnyside.
Hmm.
It just brings you right in like a hug the whole way through, and like the music is 30 to 40% of what makes Lotso's character so wonderful in that scene.
Yeah. There, Randy Newman does this thing with his music that I like. This is an odd comparison, but like John Williams is known for his sweeping epic scores. But when
Mm-hmm.
you think about like, he triumphant and brass and everything, and then like you look like if you listen to like the Cantina song in Star Wars, it's like a weird jazz song.
Mm-hmm.
And then you like my favorite, like I think you'll remember this. My favorite John Williams track that isn't a theme from like a leitmotif kind of thing. Listen to Banning Back at Home. I think it's Banning Back Home
Mm-hmm.
from Hook. And it's the song that's playing when Robin Williams is trying to get home he's trying to get to the baseball game. And it's
Mm-hmm.
bouncing between him at the office and the baseball game. And it's this weird late 80s jazz. And there's like, it's keys, there's like slap bass in it, and then there's just like a
Mm-hmm.
flute solo. And it's just the most pleasant thing. And I love those kind of tracks. So bringing it back to Randy Newman. Randy Newman is known for like he's got his like clarinets and French horns and stuff, like the strings and stuff. Like Marriage Story was scored by Randy Newman, and when I was watching it, I was like, this sounds like a Randy Newman song, and I was like, oh, it is. But then when you really like dive into it with like Toy Story 3, it's like that final the incinerator has like I think they're literally using like the percussion they're using is just like banging on metal. Like it's that
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's real epic. And then there's another song that Randy Newman. Oh, like well, even like in Toy Story 2, the opening sequence. That's a pretty triumphant like John Williams
Oh,
esque
da
like
da
dun dun dun.
da.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
it's intense. It's and you're like that. It's like the Newman family is insane. Like that
Yeah.
whole pedigree of them. But like Randy Newman, I feel like always gets kind of pushed off to the side, where it's like dun 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 dun. He's kind of doing these like
Mm-hmm.
little ragtimey things, but it's like Bugs Life 2 like has some
Yeah.
fun themes. It's like there's these little moments of I don't know how to put it. It's like the dish that the dinner that they're serving is amazing and what they're known for, and then they're like, oh, by the way, also here's this soup that is full of spice
Mm-hmm.
that you never like spices you've never heard of, and you're like, oh, okay, oh, I didn't know you could do this,
And it's
and
delicious. Yep.
yeah.
You're right. You're all the way
Um,
right.
what's your take on "We Belong Together" as the ending song? Like, just like you find it catchy, like because it's like you've got a friend in me, and it's like you've got a friend in me in the first movie, and then you got if two had a theme, it was when she loved me, and then three of
Mm-hmm.
you got like probably the happiest sounding, like the most like
How does it go? Should I play it? I just want to get. I don't
yeah,
remember.
it's we're gonna get taken down because of the song. No,
No. What's
let
it
me
called?
"We Belong Together." I'll pull it up. Let's see, get some Randy. Oh, why is it pulling up Mariah Carey? I don't want Mariah Carey. I want Randy Newman. Get me pictures of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, I want Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, get me pictures of Spider-Man. It's kind of this like,
But this is all right. Here's my issue with this song.
okay,
Is this sounds like happy ending, and this is the third and not the fourth.
right.
That's my issue with it. And that's kind of what I think they didn't. I don't like. They didn't know they were doing four when they put this out. I mean,
No,
they
no.
didn't. That's why we get so many one-offs to all the shorts after this too. I think
Mhm.
is because they think that they're going to be done with the characters.
I feel like we need to do an episode where we watch all the shorts because I do love those shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Toy Story 3 ended, I remember going like, I'm gonna miss these characters, and then they brought out the shorts, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, so this is how we're gonna get peeks into their life, for the rest of,
Yeah.
And then when they were like 4, I was like, oh. I like that they
Okay.
did the holiday specials. I think that was a really good move because like that's how those characters stick around. And I don't think that the specials were like they. I'm glad that they weren't like, oh, what you doing today, Woody? Oh, well, I'm just putting up this gingerbread house because we celebrate Christmas. And like it's just like it wasn't on there.
Yeah, no,
It was
they find better ways to go. It's Pixar.
yeah.
There's so much.
Oh
They're
yeah.
original thinkers, man.
Hmm.
Been doing it
Hmm.
that way for a minute.
Uh,
Yeah. So I don't know. Why do you ask what my opinions
I
are
was
on it?
just curious. I have a very pedestrian view of music, and so I'm always
Hmm.
like, it's catchy. I can't tell you why it's catchy,
No,
and
that song reminded me of the end of Return of the Jedi of the bap bap
oh
jabba bap
yeah,
bap
yeah, no,
bap bap shabba bap. It's
happy
like, all right,
ending.
this is the end. We're
Hmm.
partying. It's party time.
Yeah, yeah. It has this like it's funny because I probably after this, like we don't need to do this now. There's Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys released an album where he did his own versions of different Disney songs. And for some reason, I like his version of this song better than the Randy Newman. And I think it's just because,
Of We Belong Together.
yeah, and it's like Randy Newman's voice it's not an acquired taste. Like it works. Like I love LA. I love that song. And I don't know
Yeah.
why, like, We Belong Together, it just sounds so like, I mean, it won the Oscar, but it's
Hmm.
just like when I would rather listen to the cover version, and I can't put my finger on why, because the instrumentation is almost identical. Like
Hmm.
let me see if I can pull that up. Get this takedown. No, but yeah,
I really like the full circle of when they pan out at the very end. It goes back to the Pixar clouds that were in Andy's room to start.
oh yeah, yeah, it
Once
was,
again, it's like it felt like, okay, why are you tying up all these loose ends in?
yeah, it's. I'm curious what that process was, and I think
Hmm.
they handled it as well as that it could have been. Like the the inclusion of 4. I think it didn't feel tacked on. I
Hmm. No,
think,
it
and
didn't.
yeah, and I don't think like one thing that happens in some of the sequels, we'll talk about when we get to 4, but sometimes in the sequels to films, you'll have a character go through an arc, and then what happens in the second film is just like, oh, you remember that arc that happened in the first one? Well, they're still working on it. And you're like, no, 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 we need a
Hmm.
new things for him to work on. And so, um, I was going somewhere with this. I think like it makes sense the progression that happens in
Hmm.
3 and 4. It's not like because there are some movies where like the character just regresses for no reason except for plot.
Yeah.
Like, let me pull
I
up.
think you hit it on the head when you say that it's not it's not forced. It's like I feel like they Toy Story 4 was needed, and you
Yeah,
didn't know it until you saw this. Until
exactly.
you saw it. You
When
had to watch it first.
mhm, mhm, yeah, and like give it a chance, and you'll understand why it was
Hmm.
necessary. Let me pull up
100%.
this Brian Wilson. Might be the surf guitar. It suits it.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd like this so much more. He even sounds like Randy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I don't think he changed. I think all he did was change the minor arrangement, and he just made it go from like a more modern sounding arrangement to like
Mhm.
a surf tribute. But yeah, the singing style is almost the same and
Mhm.
everything. But
I got another fun fact for you. Did you know
yeah.
that this was almost not made?
Hmm.
So I guess I was reading into it, and supposedly that this was going to be made by Disney, not by Disney Pixar, but by Disney's other publishing house
Oh, yes, yes,
initially.
yes, yes, yes.
And it was
So,
going to be about Buzz Lightyear being recalled. There was a toy recall on all the Buzz Lightyears, and it was all going to be about the toys going to Tokyo with Buzz for his recall and trying to save him from the plant, which is going to deactivate him. And like I got to look at a little bit of concept art, some cool stuff of like Buzz on like an operating table and stuff. Like
mhm.
it is a trip, and it's the idea of like, could you imagine if they had Pixar? Because this is all happening when Pixar and Disney are really becoming one thing, and they're trying
Yeah.
to figure out how they're going to operate. And I
Hmm.
can't imagine. Like I really cannot imagine a world where Disney takes Toy Story from Pixar.
Yeah, I think ultimately the correct decision was made on that business deal, but I just find there are so many things, and I know like hindsight is 2020, but like there are so many decisions that are weighed like that, and you sit there and you go, I can't imagine being in that situation and saying, yes, this is what we should do. And I don't know if it's just because I'm not a corporate suit. I don't know if it's because, but at the same time, too, though, it's like there must have been, I'd like to think at the very least, and maybe I'm giving people too much credit, is like I'd like to think there was a good idea somewhere in there as to why
Hmm.
they would think they should do that.
The story
And
doesn't seem terrible. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Their idea of a story doesn't seem terrible. Like I was thinking of things like I could see it. It'd be pretty cool. It honestly reminds me more of like what Cars 2 is. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It
hmm,
reminds me more of like that kind of a vibe of a movie. But
exotic
and
locations.
yeah, and it might have served to inspire them for Cars 2 for all we know, a bit. But I just mean like that. Yeah, the exotic location and all that. And I think that I don't know. I'm glad they made Rio instead.
Well, I we can talk. We should talk about Newt eventually. The canceled. I think one of the few canceled Pixar films. Like they were pretty
Yeah.
far in development,
Oh,
and
you got
Rio
the. I am in the know. I am not in the know on this one.
Newt is effectively. Let me find it. Let's see. Newt was a canceled film, and it was supposed to come out in 2011, and then came out in 20. Was supposed to come out in 2012, and then Brave took the place of Newt. And effectively, Newt is Rio. It's there's the last remaining of two male and female newts of their species.
Wow,
They
I'm looking
happen
at
to,
it now.
yeah, they
Yeah,
happen to be blue-footed newts, and it just got canceled. And there's like
and
different,
they handed it to Disney Digital.
but then they there's all different reasons, but it was like it was the first, yeah, it's the first Pixar themed film to be canceled after reaching the production stage, which is an interesting. Um, it's
And
interesting, and
do we
like it,
know? We don't know why or anything.
I think a lot of the prevailing theories, and tear me apart, internet, if I'm wrong, is I think it's just they heard about Rio and they're like, this is way too similar, and there's probably production issues. Like I think with what was happening with what happened with Brave and that kind of stuff. If that was going on a movie that did make it out, like there's a whole. I mean, there. I think right
Well,
now
Toy Story 2 got deleted.
yeah, partially deleted. Yeah, I think, but I mean, like this era of those Pixar films, I'm completely theorizing at this point, but I think there was a lot of like unevenness in the production of
Pixar
things.
seemed murky at this point in time. I'll be totally
Yeah,
honest.
there was some muddling going on, and I think they went
Hmm.
through a little bit choppy seas.
I didn't
Um,
know about this whole new thing. That's a trip. I'm gonna look way more into this.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I wish they would release it or God, I hate when you do. I need the Snyder cut of Newt.
yeah,
I need a Snyder cut Newt right now.
yeah, yeah. So, I think we're at a good spot for final thoughts, unless you want to like. I'm trying to think of like, do you remember like any like truck memories around this time? Because I'm sitting there going like, this
This when
was
it happened. This is it.
yeah, like
All the
this
truck
was
memories.
like this
This
was
is
like
probably like we're deciding on like how we're gonna vacuum form a rocket, and we're going through different portions. We have Jake working on it and Will working on it. Jake's got
mhm,
a prototype working out of buoys, I think,
mhm,
at the place that you're working.
mhm,
He's prototyping it out, and he's getting a foam cast of it made so that we can make a he's got I think he had two models working at once. He had
mhm,
the buoy one, and then we're doing the foam cast.
mhm,
And then Will ended up taking over the foam cast, I want to say. And then we ended up, I think we finished the buoy one first, and it
yeah,
looked real wonky. And then we got the foam cast, and we started working on vacuum forming stuff.
mhm.
And then you got in contact with somebody who did pizza lights, I want to say, at that point as well, right?
Yeah, it was such a funny thing because I'm sitting there thinking like the timeline where it's like this came out in June or July of 2010, and we were I started working my job in 2011, and so we were making a lot of headway in 2010, and then we stopped in 2011
Mm-hmm.
because of me. And yeah, we were like, I think we had the truck at that point. I
We
don't
did.
remember. Yeah, and it was like we had it yellow, and it was chugging along, and it's just
I
I
remember picking it up from the paint shop
yeah
and being like, "Fuck, that's perfect."
yeah. And I think what's so wild now is like I look at photos. I even look at photos when we did the first trip, and I look at it and I'm like, it looks so much better now. And I just love that
It
like
does. It
I
needed
love that.
time.
Yeah, it's just needed time and patina and a little detail work. And I just find it interesting that like we were so caught up in it, and we're just like, yeah, this looks great. And we're like, oh, it can still be improved. And even now, I'm still like, it could be better. We could do something else. Like, we could do this. Like, I think the wildest thing right now is, I'm telling trade secrets. No, I always look at the lights because people always like the lights are wrong. It's supposed to be the round Toyota lights, and I'm like, okay, well, there aren't any round Toyota lights that fit this specific year. And like I found some online, and I'm like, I'm not paying $300 a light. I could make
Hmm.
that, and it's just deciding what
How far you want to go for the? I guess you put it on the
or
scale.
more just money wise, just like, do
Hmm.
I try making it, and if it costs less, like, and it's a minor detail, I
Hmm.
think I know a lot of people get hung up on the shell too, and that whole saga of that kind of stuff cracks me up because it's just you're making an approximation of something that is while
Something was
based,
drawn and it's not real.
yeah, it's like the only way to get the level of accuracy that some people are apparently holding that standard up to, is to make a bajillion dollars and to go into a metal 3D printing and build a
Hmm.
car from that, and it's like, and there'd be no way to
I've
drive it.
told you my opinion, Marco. My opinion is you got to go work as an Imagineer, and then you can really just go do that because they do that. They have
Yeah,
that. That's they got.
yeah, yeah. It's just,
Disney's got
um,
to pick. Disney's
yeah,
probably for sure has a Pixar truck. I mean, a Pizza Planet truck somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
I,
And it
I,
might not be. It might not be like ours. It might just be a parade float, and it's just like the front half of a float or something like that.
yeah,
But they've done it. You know what I'm saying? They've
yeah.
they've replicated
We have pictures of the one that was in Florida when
it. Hmm.
it first came out, and it's funny because they were using like movie came out in '95, so they're using like a '95 era pickup, so it's a lot bigger, a lot rounder, and then the shell, like they just bought. It's great because I look at it and I'm like, they bought a shell, and they said, oh, it has a long window and a short window. And they did it, and they just bought whatever they could find, and I'm just like, oh, this is so cool because like it's
We do
just
the same
funny
thing.
seeing that. And it was, and I would love to team up with, I know there's so many like Disney blogs out there now, but there's so many like archival things where they're pinpointing exactly like how long a specific exit sign was this color on an
Hmm.
attraction. And I want to try to figure out the timeline of like when did the truck appear at Pizza Planet in Florida and when did it disappear?
Hmm.
And I feel like it's only, I like doing this with my hands. I feel like it's only, it looks really neat. I think it was only there for maybe a year at most. I can't imagine the upkeep of having a vehicle just sitting in the sun and the rain in Florida would be on it. Um,
Hmm.
but something fun to do. So,
Appreciate the compliment. Thank
yeah,
you.
thanks. Yeah, yeah. I will, when I hear about other trucks, I want to say, like, it's a lot of people think it's a competition, and it's not. It's like a great fun art project, and I think it's
There's not very many artists that are in competition with each other. It's not
yeah,
the way it works.
yeah. This isn't the blackest black, pinkest pink
Mm-mm.
paint tobacco and that kind of stuff. Um, and
If
like
you pick a fight with our Pizza Planet truck, it's like picking a fight with Bob Ross. Is that what you want to do?
hi,
You want to fight Bob Ross?
we're gonna be, we're gonna paint you.
Do you
We're gonna
think Bob Ross has? I bet you he could probably fight. Where do you think Bob Ross lands on the Pixar Powerful chart?
Bob Ross used to be a drill sergeant, so he could. He made a vow to never yell
So
again.
is that above or
So
below Wally?
I think Wally and Bob Ross would be friends. Hey there, hey there, little
They
robot.
would. They really
I'm
would.
gonna paint this little garbage pile over here. You know, gonna paint the right over
Oh
there.
man. All right.
Titanium white.
Titanium white.
Titanium white. We're gonna get you a little titanium white right there. I think this is a good spot to wrap up. Our next film will be Brave, which
Is
I
it
think will
Brave or
be
Cars
really.
2?
Oh, Cars 2. Cars 2. Sorry, Cars 2.
Okay. I was like,
Cars 2.
I'm down. You want to skip Cars
We'll just
2?
skip Cars 2. Skipping Cars 2 ahead of time. No, no, we will.
We talked about this. This is gonna be a good one. So check it out.
Cars 2 is going to be fun because I think our discussion will go just as off the rails as the film does.
I'm not sure if I want to watch Cars 2 or start waterboarding. So we'll see.
No, no, no.
I'm just
You'll be
kidding.
fine. You'll be fine. So, for those of you that are listening in, thank you for listening in. We are available on the Anchor app, and you can listen to us on your commute as a podcast, or you can tune in to our little broadcasts when we do them. Probably after this, Sean and I are going to hop on a call to figure out our schedules and what the plan could be coming up soon. We're approaching some interesting checkpoints. Long story short, the truck needs to be registered within 2 weeks. And there's some interesting developments with that, and I'll be posting about that shortly. You heard it here first on the live feed. But any last words, Sean, in general, before we?
If anybody wants to sponsor our show, if you feel like you'd like to hear your name before you hear us talk, we'd love to have you. Give us a call, give us a text. We got these really sweet t-shirts on from our boys over at thechosenone.com. They make wonderful merchandise. I really do enjoy my t-shirt. I wear it quite frequently. And so if you too would like to hand out a t-shirt, a hat, or anything like that, and you want us to wear it, I'm trying to look like the Reebok guy from Wayne's World when Garth is all sponsored. That's my goal. Anyways, guys, I had a great time. Marco, it was a pleasure. I'll be talking to you in a quick little bit here. And I'm
Always a
signing out of here, dudes. Peace and love, everybody.
Bye, everybody.